So with the Gen 3 Formula E car right around the corner, I decided to go back to the Gen 2 era we've just left and count down every single livery from worst to best in that era. Now, this era lasted 4 seasons, Season 5 all the way to Season 8, and in that time period, we've had some really good ones and some really bad ones. So before we start here, I just wanted to make you aware that I will be counting some liveries as the same livery, and what I mean by that is the Season 7 and Season 6 BMW Andretti will be counted as one livery. The Season 7 and Season 8 Dragon Penske will be counted as one livery. The Season 6, 7, and 8 Porsche will be counted as one livery. The Season 6, 7, and 8 Mercedes will be counted as one livery. And the Season 7 and 6 Nissan will be counted as one livery. The reason I'm doing this is just for simplicity's sake. These cars may have some slight differences when it comes to like sponsor logos, or maybe the design is slightly different. But the bulk of it's the same, and just for simplicity's sake, and to reduce the number of liveries I have to talk about, I'm going to condense those together as one livery. And finally, before we start off, these are all my opinions. Let me know what you think down in the comments section, what liveries you like, what liveries you don't like, and what liveries you disagree with me on. I'll be happy to hear. So starting off with what I believe is the worst livery in the Gen 2 era of Formula E, we have the Season 5 Neo. Now, I'm not sure if it's fair to call this the worst livery, because in Season 5, they were still, learning the new car, learning the new shapes. But from some other teams, we saw some really nice liveries in Season 5, and the Season 5 Neo, I don't think I can get behind. First of all, I just don't really like these colors, just the bright tealish seafoam blue, just with a simple gradient into the white. I think it's a bit too basic, and yeah, it's a pretty basic livery, so I can't be too harsh on it. But from looks-wise, I think this is definitely the weakest livery on the list. And we don't have to go far for the next livery. The next livery is the Season 6 Neo. Now, they kept the basic color scheme from the last one, and I think this one does work a lot better. They did a little bit more with the design. The front of it is mostly white, the top of it is mostly the teal blue, and the sides and a little bit of the top is this darkish blue. And I think that actually works pretty well. But just some of the design decisions, like, if you're looking here, this is a picture of Oliver Turvey's specific car. The mirrors are yellow to differentiate between him and his teammate that year. Why? If you look at his teammate's car, his mirrors are red, which kind of actually goes with the car, considering the little plate on the side of the car is red. But why make Turvey's yellow? That just doesn't make sense at all. Plus, the finish on this car, while it's sort of a glossy finish, I'm not sure if it's the best choice. It doesn't look that great. Looks a bit faded when it's seen in some lights. So yeah, this livery, it's not great. Neither is the last one. Both of the ones using this sort of color scheme aren't great at all. But don't worry, Neo fans, they do have some bright spots in later seasons, but these two, yeah, I'm not the biggest fans of. Now, the next livery might be the lowest livery in relation to how it actually did on track. This is a championship-winning livery in the Season 5 Techeetah. Now, why I put it on here, it's just basic. It's so basic. You literally have a black car with just a splash of the gold on top. And this gold, I wouldn't even call gold. Techeetah, they're sort of still working out what color would be best to use for this gold. And this gold still kind of looks like a coppery finish, In the later seasons, they do have some really nice gold finishes, which we'll get on to later down the list. But this one, again, the sponsors, if you look at it from the top, the back of the car is pretty empty. The front of the car between the between the wheels is pretty empty as well. Yeah, just a pretty basic livery, just not a lot to talk about here. Next up, I'm going to put the Season 6 Mahindra. Now, I'm actually not that fussed with this livery. The only problem I have with it is that it's just a bit messy. There's so much going on here. You have the Indian flag accents, which I kind of like. You have the blue on the sides traveling to the back. On the front, you have the little blue arrows pointing to the red nose. And on the front wing, you have blue, you have lighter blue, you have black. You have the red numbers on there. It's just so much going on that you just sort of get overwhelmed looking at this livery. So yeah, not an inherently bad one per se, but just one where I guess you could say they tried a little bit too hard, in my opinion. Now another Mahindra livery we'll talk about, the Season 5 Mahindra. Now, it's a bit busy. If you look at it from the side-on perspective, you have all those flowing lines, and the lines are just so thin that when it's moving at speed, you can't really tell that there's a design there. Looking at it from the front, it's having a bit of an identity crisis. It doesn't even know what it wants to be. You have the black wheel pods, you have the red entire rear of the car with a little bit of blue back there. You have the black sort of roll hoop area, you have the black halo, and then you have the white entire nose of the car. So all these colors just clash together in a non-cohesive way and make the car look, again, just messy. And we seem to have a theme going of same team liveries here. This is another championship winning livery, this time the Season 6 Techeetah. Not much change from the last one. I do think the gold on this one is a little bit better. It has a bit more reflective capabilities, I'd say. And it looks a little bit better shining in the light. They also incorporated some newer design choices in this one. This was the start of that little Techeetah gradient that they'll expand on in future designs, which I liked a fair bit. They also sort of tapered the nose a little bit, making it a little thinner, which I kind of liked. They kept most of the black and limited gold on this one, which, again, sort of contributed to the gold standing out a little bit more. I still don't think they found the gold yet, but it's definitely a step in the right direction and better than the last livery. Now, the next livery is the first of our double liveries that all count as the same livery, the Season 6/Season 7 Nissan. Now, if I'm honest, there isn't much wrong with this livery. It's just not my thing, you know? My biggest problem with this livery is not the asymmetry. I actually like the asymmetry on this car. My biggest problem is the silver on the front. The silver is so front and center on this car, just on the front area. And then it's nowhere else on the car. Like, nowhere. Literally. On the back, the sides, you can look. There was no other silver. And I think if they incorporated this silver, maybe on the wheel covers, the rear wheel covers, maybe on the halo even, just somewhere in the rear-ish area of the car just to balance it out a little bit. Otherwise, pretty solid livery, in my opinion. But, yeah, that silver just detracts from it so much. And the Season 5 Nissan we'll talk about later in this list was mostly silver, so I think they just wanted to keep that element of the car going towards the future. And in my opinion, I'm not sure why they did that, because it doesn't fit with the livery at all. So next up, we're going to go with the Season 6 Virgin. Now, I'm a big fan of the Virgin liveries. I love the purple on them. I love the red and the purple combination. They've been here for so long. But I think this is the worst looking Virgin livery. Don't know who made the choice to make the paint a dull matte color, but it just doesn't work, guys. Just no. Matte purple is not a great color. And although they had a lot of silver featured on this car as well, which I do like, again, the silver is also a dull color. So the silver doesn't even stand out at all from the matte purple. In addition, they used a minimal amount of red on this car, and I think if they used a bit more, as they do in some liveries we'll talk about later on, it would have helped the car. But again, I just can't get past the choice of a dull, matte paint finish on this car. Next up is the Season 7 Mahindra. Now, I know I have a lot of Mahindra liveries ranked pretty low on this list, and I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of their liveries. This one I think they did a pretty decent job on, by minimizing the amount of things going on. As we talked about in the last Mahindra liveries, they tend to have a lot going on, and this one, they definitely toned that down. They made a base color white. They used a lot of red elements on this car that sort of work well together. A lot of the angled elements do sort of work. They flow. And they kept the blue to a minimum, which I do appreciate. But I do have a bit of a problem with some of the things. Like I talked about, they have a lot of angled elements on this car, and then just having the Mahindra logo, just basic horizontal on the side with the angle element next to it. But that's the one specific thing I can say I don't really like about this car. The rest, I'm okay with. It's a pretty solid livery, but nothing remarkable. Next up, I'm going to put the Season 5 Nissan Edams. Now, we talked about the silver earlier in the list with the Season 7 or Season 6/Season 7 car. I think a base silver livery actually works really well. This is one of the silver liveries that I think have been executed pretty nicely. One thing that could definitely be improved, the finish on the silver. It's not really a metallic. It's more of like, I don't know, a dull shine, which I think if it was like a chrome or if it was a metallic, it could have worked a lot better. Not really a fan of the white on the side of the car, though they're trying to get the little, shiny element or whatever. Not the biggest fan of that, but I think the silver and the black combo works really well. And, yeah, I sort of miss this for Nissan. I know Nissan's base color is red, and they do have a bit of red on this car as the trim. But yeah, silver livery for Nissan was sort of new at the time, and I really do appreciate it looking back on it now. Next up, I'm going to put the Season 7 DS Tachita. Now, this features more of the Tachita gradient color, and I don't know if they changed the color of gold from the Season 6 Tachita, but I still don't think they found it. This is more of like a coppery, bronzy color than a gold. But I think that this works really well with the black. I do like the Tachita gradient being featured on the front, on the wheel pods, on the side, as well as the black swooping over the roll hoop and stuff. Yeah, just a solid livery. In some lighting, it didn't really work too well. The gold didn't really shine out at all, but I think the red accents, at least on Jean-Eric Vergne's car, definitely helped a little bit. But I think the white logos definitely helped a little bit, making this car stand out. But when you're relying on your logos, there's not a lot you can do in that case. So yeah, I have this livery ranked at number 31. At number 30, we have yet another livery that I'm compiling into one livery. It's the Season 6, Season 7, and Season 8 Mercedes. Now, I know that these liveries are all sort of different, especially the Season 6 one, but I didn't want to separate them because, let's be real, they're basically the same thing. The Season 6 Mercedes, they're basically carrying over the Formula 1 design with the sort of softer blue line and smaller Mercedes, whatever they're called, the silver arrows, which I don't know if that works as well on a Formula E car. But the Season 7 and Season 8 design eliminating pretty much all gradient there, making that blue line solid and making a softer gradient towards the back, also enlarging the Mercedes silver arrows, I think works pretty well. And I do like the Season 8 design, especially using the blue arrows at the back, sort of giving it an electric feel. So yeah, solid liveries overall, but just, it's Mercedes, you get tired of looking at it after a while. Next up is the Season 8 Jaguar. Now, I do like this livery a fair bit, don't get me wrong. I love the diamond pattern that they started with the earlier things and carried over here. I actually love the shade of blue on this car, the Jaguar blue that they've decided to ditch in recent events. My big problem with this car is that the front and the back seem sort of unbalanced. So the back is all sort of the thin hexagonal, I guess, pattern, the gradient going to the back, and the front is all just solid blue. And I think for a car that's a bit front heavy in its design, I'm talking about the Gen 2 itself, it doesn't work too well, as you see in this photo right here. So yeah, pretty decent livery. But Jaguar had a high bar, and this is the lowest livery in my opinion for them. And even then, this livery isn't all too bad at all. Next up, this livery might get a bit of talk, but I'm going to put the Season 8 Andretti. Now, I know of quite a few people who really do enjoy this livery. For me, I'm a bit mixed on it, if you ask me. I love the shade of red. It's like a salmon, sort of more closer to orangey red color, and I think it changes depending on the lighting and the photography or whatever, the camera settings or whatever, and I do like that. I also do like how heavy the emphasis is on just the Avalanche logos. There was literally no other sponsor I could see besides the little ones, the wheel pods here. So yeah, very Avalanche livery with the red and the white forming a pretty nice contrast. But I think they used a bit too much black on this livery. I don't know. You see, the entire above the wheel pod area is the raw carbon fiber, which makes the car look pretty thin, in my opinion. I'm not sure if it would have been better making that red or maybe even white. But yeah, overall an okay livery, but I think it was definitely a step down from the BMW edge-ready liveries that we're going to see later on in the list, and that's probably why I have it so low. Next up, we have the Season 5 Venturi. Now, this is before Rocket came in, of course, so this is just a baseline Venturi. And as I've talked about before with the Nissans, a silver livery does work pretty well. This one, I think, looks pretty decent. I like the blue and the black as sort of lines, but not taking away from the silver. I think the one problem with this livery is the legibility of some of the sponsors. The Venturi logo is very thin. Some of the sponsors they put in blue there. It's very hard to read on the silver. But I think the thing that definitely contributes to this car is how that silver looked in different lights. The silver definitely glows more, or shines more, sorry is the right term, than the Nissan one. And yeah, I really do like this livery, but it's a far cry from some of the Rocket liveries. Next up, and this is the best looking Mahindra in my opinion, the Season 8 Mahindra. Now, they just embraced the red on this car, and I love it, man. The red-orange color that we've come to know from Mahindra, they fully embraced it. That, combined with the black on the bottom of this car, makes for a really, really nice contrast. I love the Mahindra in the metallic red on the front wing. That definitely stands out, and on the side floor beds, I guess you could say there. So I like the small splotches of blue on the side. Nothing too big or nothing too complicated like on the previous Mahindra liveries, but it stands out pretty nicely. And one other thing I like on the back there above the, I guess you could say the wheel supports, they have this metallic silver Mahindra sort of gradient pattern. And I do like that quite a bit. So yeah, best looking Mahindra in my opinion. Mahindra didn't have the best liveries if you ask me, but this one is definitely a fairly solid one. Next up, I'm going to put the Season 7 Neo. Now, I know quite a few people who don't like this livery. Personally, I do. They really went away from just the basic white and teal colors of the first two Neos in the Gen 2 era. And they sort of went with a base black and went with these sort of futuristic whoosh line modern light patterns. And I really like it. I really like the touch. They also went with sort of a brighter green mixed with a darker blue, and I think that worked really well. Overall, really solid livery in my opinion. I really do like it. Next up, I'm going to put the Season 5 Virgin. Now, this car suffers a few of the problems as the Season 6 one does. Most notably, I'm not sure about this shade of purple. This car definitely works better than the other one because it's not entirely just a matte finish, but they still have the halftone fades, and there is a bit more red on this car, which I think saves it a bit, makes it better than the last one, but still, not entirely solid with this shade of purple. They do perfect it in the next livery that we'll talk about later down the list. But yeah, pretty solid livery in my opinion. Just again, the purple, it's not the best finish to really stand out in my opinion. Next one along, the Season 8 Neo, the best looking Neo in my opinion. It might be recency bias, but I really like this. I really do. They added some red, which is basically a color unseen in Neo thus far. They focused mainly on this darker blue color as their base mixed with the black, which I think works really well. And they built upon the line design they created, but cleaned it up a little bit so that it's just the basic lines. There's no more gradients or anything like that. It's just the change in the line thickness, which creates sort of a gradient, I guess you could say. But yeah, this works really, really well, and I think it's definitely a nice looking livery. Next up, we have the predecessor to Mercedes in the Season 5 HWA Race Lab. I do quite like this livery. They focused on the base gloss black and just did some basic electric blue, I guess you could say, outlines. And I love it. I do like it quite a bit. I also like the HWA logo just sort of hidden there on the top. I think the problem with this livery is that maybe they could have gone with a few more sponsorships. Sponsorships that weren't just base white logos with Chinese writing on it. Anyhow, just ignoring that part. Pretty solid livery. Not too much to this one, but I think less is more in this case. Next one along, I will put the Season 6 Audi. Now, this livery is almost perfect. If you look at the back of this car, it is pretty much perfect. But if you look at the front, what is with the black? There is so much black, it's kind of jarring. There is more, if you look at it from the top here, there is more black on the front of this car than there is green or white or even red, I'd say. The black is the first thing you see when you look at it from the front, and it makes it such a plain looking livery that you don't even choose to look at the back. I'm not sure what they were thinking there. When I first saw this livery, I thought that, okay, maybe, I don't know, it's a repaired livery, maybe like Lucas Degrassi or someone wrecked or something, and this is like a backup livery that they couldn't fully wrap or something. But no, it was like this the entire season, and I'm not sure why they chose to go with so much black on this car. And for that reason, this is the lowest ranking Audi livery, in my opinion. Next up, we are about to crack the top 20 best liveries, more than halfway through at this point, with the Season 6 Geox Dragon. Now, I love this livery. It's just black and it's white with a little bit of red featured in there. Perfect. I love it. Not too sure about the little American flags on the roll hoops, but I think that's just a Dragon Penske thing. Another thing I'm not too sure about is the red in front of like the, I guess you could say, air intakes or whatever on the side. The red doesn't work as well on this car as it does on some of the other Dragon cars we'll talk about. If you haven't noticed, this is the lowest Dragon car, and it's still great. Dragon, for all their performance on the track, they had amazing liveries. I think they put their budget into one thing and not another, unfortunately. But yeah, this is a really, really nice looking livery. And yeah, we're definitely going to have fun seeing some more Dragon liveries further down the list. Next one along is the Season 7 Rocket Venturi. Now again, just like the last one, I love the basic black and white on this car. For the Venturi, they went more with the bare carbon fiber, which I actually like quite a bit. If you look at this car from this angle, I quite like how the basic shape of the front nose of the car sort of flows outwards in the black sort of lines there. Only problem I have is maybe if the Rocket logos were just a little bit bigger, they'd be a bit more legible. But yeah, I definitely love the look of this car. One of the better looking liveries, one of the better looking simple liveries, if I do have to say so myself. Speaking of simple liveries, next up is the Season 6 Mercedes, except it's the black version. So, if you don't know, in Formula E, they also did the same thing as they did in Formula 1, Mercedes did, where they basically inverted their livery, making it black. And in Formula 1, I love the look of that car. Formula E, also sort of love the look of that car. You've sort of seen as I've gone on the list, I love how this car looks in just bare color. Just one color, especially if that color is black. But yeah, love the little Mercedes silver arrow fade. I think the gradient softer blue line works a lot better on this car. Pops a lot more. It's basically the HWA livery, but a bit more to it and without the annoying logo crap. So yeah, really nice livery. Definitely warranting of a top 20 spot. Next one up, I'm going to put the Season 5 BMW Andretti. This was the start of the BMW liveries, which I love, as you're going to see later on in the list, of course. But this one, I'm not too sure about this one. The thin lines of this car were a little weird to me. And I think this car features a bit too much white for my liking. The only real BMW color I can see on this car is just the blue. No red anywhere, no lighter blue, just that one shade of blue, which I guess is okay. I do like the asymmetry, as we'll see with their later livery as well. Yeah, just a solid overall livery, but is overshadowed by the next BMW Andretti livery, which we will talk about. Not gonna spoil where it is. Another livery that I quite like the look of, and it's basically just one base color, is the Season 8 Porsche Special Soul livery. Now this was just the black and the teal blue, but I love it. It's basically the same Porsche livery, just take out the colors, drain all the colors, make the stripes blue, and use that electric blue pattern. I love how this car looks, if you haven't seen it already, in black, white, and electric blue. Quite a few liveries that are higher up, as you've seen, are featuring this color scheme, and I love it. It gives you the impression of futuristic electric race car. Just there. It works with the body lines, it works with everything. Love the trim. Works really well at number 16. At number 15, I'm going to put the Season 5 Audi. Or should I say Audi App Schaeffler. I do quite like the look of this livery. It's just one thing that sort of brings it down, in my opinion. And I don't know what to think of it. It's the DHL yellow. I'm not sure if the DHL yellow works the best on this car. Their little line gradient design, I don't know, because yellow's a bright color too, but I'm just not sure why it doesn't work in this case. I don't really know what to say. But again, they stuck with quite a bit of black on this livery, but in this case it works a little bit better because it's balanced out by the white and the other colors. Solid livery, just not sure about the DHL. And at number 14, pretty much everyone who's watched Formula E in recent years has had to have seen this livery. The Season 6, 7, and 8 Porsche, Tag Heuer Porsche. Now, I love this livery. I know a few people have gotten tired of it over time, which is understandable, I suppose. They've used the same livery this entire Gen 2 era. But I do quite like it. It's built a personality for Porsche. The front of the car being all white, the middle of the car being black, and the rear of the car being red. It works well. It's nice, it's balanced, and it gives the Porsche brand identity really, really well. Just wish it was a little more successful, if you ask me. Next up, we're going to see the first Jaguar livery we've seen in quite a while. The Season 6 Jaguar. This is definitely one of the stronger ones, in my opinion. I love how they mainly focused on the blue. This livery actually doesn't feature any of the transitional hexagonal patterns, with the exception of the little gloss ones you see in this photo of the back. But all of the blue is just the basic blue and black stripy pattern, which I really like. They used a lot of bare carbon on this car as well, which is really nice. They got the Jaguars on the side, which is a must. And overall, really nice livery. Really do appreciate it. And it's the third worst Jaguar livery. This livery, sitting at number 13, is the third worst. Can you believe that? At number 12, we have the Season 8 Envision. Now, when this livery was first unveiled, I wasn't sure. As I said previously, I loved the Virgin cars. And getting rid of the purple and going with this green was a radical change that I wasn't sure I was ready for. But by the end of the season, I loved this livery. I love it. Even away from the purple, it gave Envision their own identity. The blue on this car is really, really dark, and I think that gives it a great contrast with a nice bright green. Love the green lining on this car, wrapping around all of the body lines, the front wing, the side of the car. Like the white sponsor logos. All the sponsor logos have been color matched, with the exception of this jetpack logo. Come on, guys, you could have done it. But yeah, really, really nice livery. Really, really nice. It's probably just going to be remembered for smashing into the barriers at New York and then winning. But yeah, it was a change in branding I wasn't really ready for, but in time I definitely grew to enjoy it. At number 11, we have another Season 8 livery. There are a lot of Season 8 liveries that have ranked very high, and again, I don't know if it's recency bias or not, but in this case, the Season 8 Nissan, the best looking Nissan in my opinion. They ditched the silver, and they've gone fully red and black. They have fully committed to this, and I think it looks really, really nice. The base color is black, but they've splotched a bunch of red on top, and I love the finish of the red and the contrast it has with the black as well. I love me some good contrast. I don't know if you've seen that. One thing I'm not sure about with this car is how bare the rear of the car is. They just have the Nismo logos up there. Maybe if they had a bit more red trickling onto the wheel supports, it would have looked a bit better. But in my opinion, best looking Nissan and one of the best looking red and black liveries on the list. Next up, we have the second best Jaguar livery in my opinion, the Season 8 Jaguar. And again, just like the Nissan, when this first came out, I wasn't entirely sure because they featured a lot of white on it, and I wasn't sure about the rainbow colors of the TCS logo on the side. I grew to actually really love the white on this car. It wraps around the front wheel pods, balancing it from the front. It's basically what every single logo on the car is, besides the TCS logo, of course. And it continues onto the back and continues with their hexagonal gradient pattern, which I really do like. Another thing, the TCS logo does give a little bit of a splash of color. Not sure if it would have looked better in white. But yeah, one of the better looking Jaguar liveries, and we still have one to go. At number 9, we have the Season 5 Dragon. Black, white, basic livery, right? And then they just add the red, and the red adds so much to the livery. I love it. I love this livery, man. Like I said earlier, Dragon, they have such great liveries, inversely proportionate to their on-track performances. But man, I love it. I love this livery to death, man. But they did one-up it, and we will see that livery in just a moment. At number 8, we have the best looking Jaguar livery, in my opinion, the Season 5 Jaguar. Just look at this. Just looking at it from the side, it flows so well. Those striped blue, it follows the curvature perfectly. Every single logo on this car has been color matched to white. Beautiful. Love the 2 Panasonic logos on the front of the car. Love the Jaguar on the back. And this is the beginning of their little hexagonal pattern, except I'm not entirely sure what this is, like little H's or whatever. But just like on the Season 6 one, they're like gloss on the bare carbon fiber, so they stand out. And yeah, really do love this livery. Really do. Best looking Jaguar livery in my opinion, and long live the Jaguar teal. At number 7, we have a livery that some of you might disagree with. It is the Season 6 Rocket Venturi. Now, I love the red, white, and black on this car. It works so well. I love the fact that they have the front wheel covers in black, so they're sort of hidden away. And then the transition from the short, tapering front to the red sides, if you look at it from the top, it's amazing. It makes me wish we got that Rocket livery in Formula 1 in 2020, because that red and white livery I loved so much. But this one I love as well, and it's definitely deserving of a top 10 spot. Some of you might disagree with me here, but I love it. I actually have a little model of this car as well, so that made me like it quite a bit more, because it's rare to get models in Formula E. At number 6, we have a livery that has been very popular. It's a livery that I love the look of, the Season 7/Season 8 Dragon Penske. Oh man, have you seen a better looking livery from a backmarker team? Like, you have the chrome red, the beautiful chrome red that just shines. And then you have the matte white. Chrome red and matte white might just be my favorite color combination on a car. And it's done perfection here. Every logo, like I said, color matched beautifully. Love how it cuts through the number on the side. Yeah, it's just beautiful. Why couldn't this car have done better? I'm glad they're keeping this design with the DS Penske. Or, well, the base design. They got rid of the red, unfortunately. But man, just look at it. It's beautiful. It really is. At number 5, we are cutting to the top 5, the big guns, the best of the best. At number 5, we have the Season 7 Audi. When I think of a Formula E car, this is where my brain jumps to. We previously talked about the Season 6 Audi, which I thought featured a bit more black, but the back of that car was perfect. They fixed it for this car. They fixed it. They made the white come forward. They made the 2 little red stripes on the black, and I love it, man. I love it. I love this car so much. Unfortunately, this car was so good, and it was Audi's last hurrah. So it was sort of sad to see them go at season's end, but man, it was beautiful, man. It is absolutely beautiful. And like I said, when I think of a Formula E car, this is where my brain jumps to. Amazing, beautiful livery. At number 4, the best looking DS Techeetah in my opinion, the Season 8 DS Techeetah, and this is where they finally figured out how to perfect the gold. This gold just shines. It's like a chrome, and I love it. They ditched the Techeetah gradient pattern for this thin lined pattern, which once again I love. I love how it just stands out in the black, and how the black stands out in the gold. I really can't see any way to improve this livery at all. Like it's beautiful. It's amazing. Techeetah's best livery. Why do they have to win a championship with the other 2? Come on, man. At number 3, we're getting to the top 3. And these top 3, I mulled on it for quite a while, trying to determine the order that I wanted. But I think I have finally found what I wanted. At number 3, we have the Season 8 Rocket Venturi. Oof, man. Could I put this livery higher? No, I can't. Come on. Oh, okay. Love this livery. Love it. Basic gloss black livery, okay. Bits of carbon fiber here and there, okay. Then just the gloss white rocket on the side is all. It is, if you don't know, this was the IndyCar livery that they ran, and I love their livery in IndyCar, and they transitioned it to the Formula E car, and I think I love it even more. It's a basic livery. It's just black with that white. No, nothing, no design, nothing, but it works so well. It just looks like a Batmobile. That's the comparison a lot of people were comparing it to. But it does have little splashes of color that I do love as well. The pride flag, of course. Love the little splash of color that gave. The little ABB logo on the front and the Hewlett-Packard logo. Love it. As well as the driver's helmet themselves. Lucas Degrassi and Edo Mortara. Their helmets so different from each other. But since their helmets are the bits of contrast, you could see their helmets really well and tell who was driving the car. It's such a shame that Edo didn't win the title this year. He was so strong, man, in the earlier parts of the season. But yeah, love this livery, man. Love it to death. At number 2, and if I tell you what number 2 is, you might guess what number 1 is. But number 2, the Season 7 and Vision Virgin. We talked earlier in this list about them not perfecting the purple, about it being too matte or too dull, you know, about using too much silver. This car, they made the purple a metallic gloss color, and it just pops. Looking at this car under the light, with the lights bouncing off it, it's beautiful. And with the red on this car, the red accents pop so much on the basic purple. It's amazing. I love it, man. Love how the red is trimmed around the front wing, around the side of the car. It's beautiful. This was my number 1 for quite a while, but I mulled over it. I thought it through. It's not. It's number 2, but only just. And so, with that as my number 2, quite a bit of you might have guessed what my number 1 is. This is the number 1 for a bunch of people. I know. The Season 6/Season 7 BMW Andretti car. Man, this is perfection. This is perfection in a livery. Like, there's no way to improve this. It's asymmetrical. It's purple. It's blue. It's black, with the white contrast. It's amazing. Like, literally, I tried to find a better livery than this, and we've seen some very good liveries, but I don't think anything could beat this. It's beautiful. And this is the reason why I disliked it, that BMW left so much, or that they had the Avalanche Andretti livery in Season 8, because this is what they took away from us, man. Alright, so that was it. Every single Formula E Gen 2 livery ranked. Let me know what you think in the comments below. What livery were your favorite liveries? What liveries that you think should have been higher on my list? What liveries you think should have been lower on my list? I am curious to see. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like and or subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.